I've hit the play button. Wrong thing. Stupid laptop. Playing the right song. There we go. Hopefully it will work. Alexa, stop. Hey, Tony.
Hello. Hey! I exist. Yes, you do. Just like the rest of us.
For the first time since the first episode, you exist.
I don't want to exist.
No one wants to exist. I don't want
This
to
economy?
This is the worst timeline, and everybody knows it.
This is the worst fucking dystopia you could have ever thought of.
And yet we still live in it.
It's like the Division, but nothing's happening.
I just realized that anyone on the street could have heard us. Hello, my name is Joshua T. Stewart, otherwise known as Callan, and I would like to welcome you to the Nightfall. Again, I am your host, Callan, and I'm joined today by two very special guests. First and foremost, my good friend from years and years in the past, Mr. Lance Susix, aka Tony.
Hello and welcome again.
Tony will be making his first appearance on the Nightfall podcast since literally episode 1. So, again, I guess in this case, welcome to the Nightfall.
Glad to be here again.
Second, our second special guest is the host of fellow NIGHTWAV production podcast, Steel Underground. He is also the voice of Tyler Stroud in the upcoming fictional sci-fi drama podcast series, The Satellites. The voice of Tyler Stroud. Please welcome McAdvertisement.
Howdy, good to be here.
And again, I would like to welcome you to the Nightfall. Before we begin today's episode, I need to make a quick disclaimer about the following case. The following live stream depicts individuals, both living and deceased, following acts of extreme violence. Due to the circumstances of each case, it is important to note that to tell the full story, statements made contradicting official accounts will be spoken. None of these statements are intended to help or hurt the cases made by either party. They are only intended to tell the full story. The following will also have opinions made by the host and cast members regarding this case. These opinions are given for entertainment value as well as to add a additional point of view towards the story of the case. No ill will is directed at any individual whatsoever, living or deceased, convicted or acquitted. All information is made with the express goal to provide entertainment and knowledge regarding some of the darkest parts of humanity. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Nightfall. Cue dramatic music, which I would have playing right now if I had a stream deck. Whatever. Anyways, before another thing, before we begin this episode, I want to say a quick shout out to the late great Razor Ramon Scott Hall, who we have just found out has passed away from complications following a hip surgery, heart attacks, as well as being on life support. So Scott Hall, former WWE superstar, former ECW and NWO superstar. He was one of the faces of many people's childhoods in regards to wrestling. I want to say a quick thank you to him and a good rest in peace, because I respect everything that he did, even if some of the things that he did wasn't exactly the most respectable. Rest in peace, Razor Ramon. You will be missed. Alright. Welcome to the Nightfall. It's a true crime podcast dedicated to telling the stories of some of humanity's darkest moments and the justice or injustice that followed them. In the past few weeks, we have discussed the murders of Hinter Kaifek, the mysterious disappearance of the Sauter children, the Guyatlaw Pass case, and on our last episode, we talked about the Chris Benoit murder-suicide case in the pilot episode for the upcoming Wrestling True Crime story, Wrestling True Crime podcast, Danger Zone. This week, we are diving into a brand new case with some information that may sound pretty similar to the Hinter Kaifek case. This case is called The Murders of White House Farm. For more information regarding this case, I would highly recommend you watching the limited series on HBO Max, not sponsored by the way, The Murders of White House Farm, which is a 6-part episodic limited series that tells the entire story of what I'm going to tell you. It goes into much more detail, it goes into much more information that you may or may not need to know regarding this case. So let me provide a brief summary of this case to our cast members who I hope have gone in completely blind into this case. Is that correct to assume for you two?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. So a brief summary of the case. In August 1985, 5 people were slain in White House Farm, a small cottage in Essex, England. The victims, similar to the Hinterkaifeck case, were a grandmother, a grandfather, a mother, and her twin sons. Following their discovery, the local police investigation deemed the murders a murder-suicide case, following evidence that 28-year-old Sheila Bamber had killed her parents, twin sons, and committed suicide in an act of religious cleansing. However, new evidence presented a month following the murders, including a new key witness. Sorry, I miswrote this. A new key witness, 24-year-old Jeremy Bamber, was arrested and eventually convicted of the murders, professing his innocence to this day. Today, I will discuss these murders and their aftermath in an attempt to decipher whether or not Sheila Bamber committed the religious murders, or if Jeremy Bamber committed the familicide. Join us as we welcome you to the Nightfall. For information on how you can follow us for future episodes, wait until the very end of this episode. Now, before we begin, as you two have heard a very brief summary of the case that I'm about to go into, what are your thoughts on what's going through your head when it comes to this case?
Well, considering the fact that he is still, demanding his, or, stating his innocence, and the fact that his only connection so far is that he happens to know the family, from what I'm guessing, I feel like that they were simply just looking for a scapegoat and looking for somebody to pin this on.
That's an interesting theory. What about you, Tony? What do you think?
I personally don't have any thoughts at the moment. That what the other guest had gone and brought up was definitely or is definitely a good theory, but other than myself, I have no factors to go and key in.
All right. So, in order to provide some more information for this case, let me get into my notes here. All right. So, we're gonna get into the timeline for this dark case. All right. So, the timeline begins on August 4th, 1985. Colin Caffell, the father of Daniel and Nicholas Caffell, each 6 years old, the twin sons of Sheila Caffell, had dropped off Sheila, Daniel, and Nicholas at the residence of June and Neville Bamber, the parents of Sheila. Upon leaving, Colin was requested by Sheila to discuss with her parents to stop medication for her ongoing schizophrenia. Colin, however, did not follow through and left the premises shortly afterwards. He has noted that Jeremy Bamber, Sheila's brother, was on the premises of White House Farm before he left. On August 5th, 1985, Jeremy Bamber arrives at the farm and overhears June and Neville suggesting to Sheila that the boys be placed in a daytime foster home due to her ongoing mental illness. According to testimony, Sheila did not seem bothered by this, but did mention that she wanted the boys to stay in London as well as her. It is worth mentioning that the boys had been placed in a foster home previously, so this isn't a a occurrence that was out of the ordinary. Sheila, however, was said to have strongly opposed to having her children taken away, but might have agreed to daytime assistance. Jeremy was said to have left the residence around 9:30 p.m. that evening. On August 6, 1985, Jeremy Bamber, upon hearing rabbits in the area, loaded a .22 Anschutz Model 525 purchased by Neville with the intention of using the semi-automatic rifle to kill the rabbits. However, he claims to have not used the rifle for that purpose, instead leaving the rifle on the kitchen table along with the ammunition. The rifle, semi-automatic, was only able to hold 10 rounds per magazine. This will come up later. Purchased with the rifle were a silencer and a telescopic sight. However, neither were found equipped to the rifle following the murders. On August 7, 1985, at around 3:30 a.m., Jeremy Bamber called the local police station to report having just frantic call from his father, claiming that Neville Bamber had said Sheila had, and I quote, gone berserk, end quote, with a rifle before the line went dead. Following this, the local police met Jeremy at White House Farm, noting that for a few hours no one in the house responded to police requests for proof of life. The officers spent those hours outside the home out of fear of a possible active shooter in order to protect both to protect Jeremy, to protect the general public themselves, as well as any hostages that might still be within the house. Jeremy was asked by police about if Sheila had ever had experience firing a weapon, and were told that Sheila was familiar with the weaponry, and that he and her had gone target shooting previously. Later that morning, a police unit entered the home. On the first floor, they discovered the body of Neville Bamber, slumped over a chair with 8 gunshot wounds to his head and chest, along with signs of a struggle and a severe beating. There was a rotary phone in the room, not far from where he was. Moving upstairs, the bodies of Daniel and Nicholas. Daniel reportedly shot 5 times, and Nicholas a total of 3, both killed in their sleep. Remember, Daniel and Nicholas are the twin sons. They also discovered the bodies of June Bamber, dead in front of the door, shot 7 times, and Sheila, the rifle clutched in her arms, a Bible near her, and 2 gunshot wounds in her mouth and chin. June's pet dog was found hiding under the master bed. The police investigators deemed the matter a murder-suicide based on available evidence, preempting the official coroner's report. Upon informing Jeremy, he immediately requested to call his girlfriend, Julie Mugberg. Jeremy was said to have acted naturally following the information that his whole family had been murdered. Now, that's basically the end of the timeline, the initial timeline. Any thoughts so far, you guys, gentlemen?
The 2 gunshot wounds to Sheila, that's her name, right?
Yes.
That might sway my opinion here.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot about this, about the scene that screams that there's more to the story than what's being shown. But it was as if the police at the time just looked at the cover of the book and didn't bother reading the story at all. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Like, they were giving a book report, and the only thing that they wrote about the book was what they thought about the cover, you know? Didn't bother to actually dive deep into the actual case. Tony,
Right.
do you have any information or any ideas or thoughts or whatever?
Well, I was about to say it does sound like they kind of just skimmed over most of what had happened, but I'm also trying to figure out if, since it only held 10 bullets in it, and so far it said that what was used was way more than 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out if specifically they only they carried every additional round with them and loaded each round as they had gone and moved throughout with the killings. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm personally just trying to figure out at this point um, what else they may or may not have missed over, because there is probably a good couple of things that they might have overlooked, but I don't know
I
if.
will I will definitely get into that here in a minute about what
Okay.
else was found within the house
Okay.
as the investigation began. But it's worth saying that at this point in the case, the police are adamant that it was a open and shut murder-suicide case where Sheila had gone berserk because of her schizophrenia and killed her entire family in a religious rage.
Okay.
So that's the current story. So, what about you, Mac? Do you have anything else you want before we go on?
Nope, got nothing else.
Alright. Now we're going to get into the investigation and aftermath. That took place between August and September 1985. Following a rushed investigation, the local police stated that they had determined that the Bamber family had died following a murder-suicide, claiming Sheila as the culprit. Sorry. However, police sergeant and investigator Stan Jones had begun his own personal investigations in the murders, and surmising that some of the evidence just didn't make any goddamn sense. For example, it was later determined that the injuries inflicted to Neville Bamber's mouth and face, two of which were gunshot wounds, showed that he was unable to properly articulate or pronounce words or names before he died, contradicting Jeremy's statements that he received a call from Neville. It was also found that a rotary phone in the room Neville was found had been moved from the master bedroom, which explains the way June was found. June, the grandmother, was found laying as if she was moving away from the door and further into the room instead of uh, trying to escape the room. Uh, she was found as if she was walking towards the nightstand where the old phone had been. Supporting the murder-suicide theory was the fact that upon investigation, all the windows and doorways were locked, implying that the killer was already inside the house when the murders occurred. However, subsequent investigations found a specific window in the kitchen could be manipulated to lock itself if knocked upon, presenting as if it was locked previously. At some point during the investigation, one of Jeremy's cousins reported that his reactions following the deaths was almost celebratory, having spent most of the month selling off most everything his family owned, including June and Neville's vehicles. upon entering the house in order to collect items of value that weren't yet sold. The extended family found the silencer of the rifle, found with red paint and blood on the surface and inside the barrel. Later, they also found stretch marks on the mantelpiece, also painted red. A police investigation found that the paint from the mantelpiece matched that on the silencer, implying that the silencer had caused the markings on the mantelpiece, arguing that the stretch marks were made on the night of the murders. It was also found that Sheila could not have physically committed suicide with the rifle while equipped with the silencer, as she would not have been able to reach the trigger to fire once, let alone twice, and the fact that the silencer was found in a location deemed impossible by evidence. For example, the silencer was found downstairs in a cupboard that was locked, while Sheila was found in the upstairs master bedroom clutching the rifle. So she would have had to shot herself twice in the face, walked downstairs, locked the silencer away, and walked back upstairs and died in the room, clutching a Bible and a rifle in such a way to imply that she committed suicide, which is blasting more and more holes in the suicide case. Despite objections from Stan Jones, the local police continued to flaunt the murder-suicide theory at the risk of his own career. Stan Jones continued to investigate, following leads and small bits of evidence in order to try to find a way to stop the coroner from allowing the release of the bodies to Jeremy Bamber, his current lead suspect regarding the actual murders. However, insufficient evidence was provided in the bodies, which could have had a load of evidence within them to assist the murder case against Jeremy Bamber, were cremated and any evidence thereof was destroyed. However, 1 month following the actually, before I get into this, what do you guys think? Because what I'm about to say is going to blow the case wide open, so I need to know where your heads are at right now.
I'm not sure. I have no idea what to think.
Tony, same?
At the moment, yeah, I'm in basically the exact same boat right now.
So you guys are confused, right? You guys don't know who actually did it. Was it Sheila who did seemingly the impossible, or was it someone else who killed the family? Right?
Correct.
All right. Y'all ready for the you ready for the fuse to go off?
I guess so.
All right. Stan Jones, 1 month following the murders, was approached by Jeremy's girlfriend, Julie Mugford, who gave a brand new statement 1 month following the murders. Julie had stated that at multiple times before the murders happened, that Jeremy had stated that he had wanted his family dead, mentioning that he wanted to set the house on fire. He was reported saying that he hated his parents, that his sister was insane, and that he would be doing his friend and ex-brother-in-law Colin Caffell a favor by killing the twins. Mugford had received a call the night before the murders, saying Jeremy told her, and I quote, "It's tonight or never," end quote. At around 3:15 a.m. on the morning of the murders, Julie received another call from Jeremy, who said, "Something happened at the farm. Everything is going well." The night following the murders, Julie confronted Jeremy, who informed her he had hired a friend, a former plumber for the Bambers, to commit the murders, even telling her how the friend had entered the and committed the acts. Mugford went on record saying that Jeremy told her that he, and I quote, "should have become an actor," end quote, in response to his reactions to finding out his family was killed. Mugford and Bamber had been dating since 1984, and both had been accomplices in a theft at a family-owned caravan. Julie was also involved with a checkbook scam where she reported her checkbook as stolen and had used the book to forge checks, both admitted by her as evidence of possible dishonesty regarding her story. Jeremy Bamber was subsequently arrested and interrogated, but was released on bail after the alleged hitman had a strong alibi presenting that he had not murdered the family. Bamber reportedly went on holiday, during which time the case against him would find a point of entry into a downstairs shower window with scratch marks caused by a saw blade confirmed to have been purchased by Jeremy that was found nearby in the bushes. That was not investigated earlier because of the murder-suicide theory being the most prevalent theory. Jeremy was arrested again following his return from holiday, continuing to tell investigators that Mugford was attempting to get one over on him for breaking off their relationship. The trial began in the fall of 1986, where Julie's story was found could have been fabricated by use of tabloid and media coverage of the case in the month before coming forward about the case. Julie went on record saying that Jeremy had referred to Sheila as the perfect scapegoat for the crimes. She tested that she didn't come forward sooner out of love and fear of Jeremy, saying that Jeremy told her that if she came forward, she would be arrested as an accomplice. However, Julie was not charged with any wrongdoings and was found to be innocent, her knowledge of the crimes having been given to her by Jeremy under duress. The jury deliberated and eventually convicted Jeremy Bamber of the murders of all 5 members of his family and was sentenced to 5 consecutive life sentences, with a minimum sentence of 25 years before parole, which was in 2011. In the years following his sentencing, Jeremy continues to proclaim his innocence, having appealed in 1989, 2002, and in 2012, but all being denied, with the Court of Appeals continuing to steadfastly state the original court ruling. So, what do you believe? Did Sheila commit the murders, like the police say? Or did Jeremy? Or did someone else set Jeremy up? I toss it to you guys to discuss the case, because that is basically all the information I have to give right now.
Okay. So, we're looking at a 22 that can hold 10 rounds at a time, and each victim had multiple gunshots. Supposed killer had 2 through the face. The girlfriend told
So let me
supposedly
add a
that
little bit extra information regarding the amount of bullets regarding that weapon. So it is reported that they found ammunition to the rifle in the kitchen downstairs near Neville's body, where it is theorized that whoever was doing the whoever was doing the killings, they would have done all 10 shots, would have had to go downstairs into the kitchen, grabbed more ammunition, then went back upstairs to kill the rest of the family twice. Because the amount of bullets that were fired into the bodies, and each and every single bullet, each and every single bullet found its mark, was a grand total of 25 bullets fired.
See, that's what threw me off, was the fact that they would have to walk all the way back downstairs to go and get more.
Right.
And
So here's a little bit more evidence to help screw your heads. Sheila was found in a nightgown that had no pockets. Her fingers were also manicured, with no chips or damages to her fingernails, like you would see for anyone who was inexperienced at reloading this particular firearm.
there would also, if I'm right, there'd also probably be at least some kind of residue on her hands for using the gun.
Yeah.
Because guns do leave some, when you fire them, there is a small trace of
Gunpowder
that would come back at your own hands.
But here's the thing. From what I can find, there was barely any on her hands. So,
Okay.
there isn't very much information right now that I can look up. Most of the information I got was from watching the show and reading up on some articles on Wikipedia, as well as some other reputable sources. So, not much information is held. I mean, again, this happened in 1985. The fact that we have this much information now is a testament to the recordings of the police investigators. So, as far as I can tell, Sheila was not found to have had very much, if at all, any gunpowder residue on her hands.
So, to me, it would seem that there was a third party to that who went in and did the killing themselves, possibly buying the exact same type of gun, with the exact same bullets, and just use that themselves.
It is confirmed that the rifle that was found in Sheila's arms was the exact same rifle that her father Neville had purchased a few months previously.
Right, because of the tracking number.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what we're looking at is somebody that's got deep pockets, somebody that just grabbed fistfuls of bullets, rammed them in there. Now, what I don't get is, since the silencer was far away from anybody that died, could somebody have bought their own, attached it to the gun, done the business, and then taken it with them?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It is possible, except for the fact that the silencer did have trace amounts of blood inside the barrel, as if it was fired at close range, almost contact range, where the blood splatter would get inside the barrel. So it is entirely possible that whoever did the killings used the silencer on all parties except for Sheila, and then had Sheila commit suicide without the suppressor on the gun. So. So that's just some of the ideas that that I've seen rolling around online.
Sorry, for the past couple of days, I've been playing Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, so I'm going based off of what you kind of know how to play in the game. So I'm thinking a lot outside the box right now.
Go right ahead, do that. That's what I want you to do. And this is the reason why I like doing this podcast with other people, because I want people who don't know about these cases to build their own theories live on air, because I want to hear other people's opinions on these cases.
Okay, cool. Was there any other, like, not alibi, but was there any other person who had any ties with the family aside from the one with a friend after going after that one kid said that he wanted to go and burn the house down?
That was Jeremy Bamber saying that. That was
Yeah, no. I was saying, was there someone else aside from that person going and saying that?
From what I've been able to gather, the only people investigated within for the case was Sheila and Jeremy. There was no one else being investigated at the time. So if there was a third party, no, which is entirely possible that there was a third party that Jeremy was set up, that that person has gotten away with murder, or had gotten away with murder.
Because that's what I'm thinking, is Jeremy probably was talking with another third party person, or they overheard it at the same time, and in their own way they took action into their hands to go and do the murder, to possibly go and either frame either of those two, or I don't know where I'm getting at with this, but I'm thinking it's about a third party who's trying to cause either of those two to be considered the killers and trying to get away with it themselves.
Except for one major thing. How do you account for Jeremy calling... Oh, this is something else that I kind of glossed over. Jeremy called the local police instead of dialing 999, and his reasoning for this is because he thought that the local police would get there faster. So, and it's also worth mentioning that Jeremy claimed that he received a call from his father, Neville, saying that Sheila had, quote, gone berserk, but it was found that the bullet wounds to Neville's face were the oldest bullet wounds, so they were the first ones that were that happened to him, and he was unable to pronounce or enunciate any word following these wounds. So there was no physical possible way that Neville could have told Jeremy to what happened with Sheila. And it's also worth mentioning that why didn't Neville call 999 himself? Why was his first instinct to call Jeremy, not the police? Just something to think about. Tyler, you're quiet. I mean, Matt, you're quiet. What do you think?
I'm thinking him and the girlfriend were in on it together.
That's an interesting theory.
Because it sounds like the girlfriend, one of them may have come up with the idea of bumping them all off, and on Sheila. When the evidence started to pile up, something must have happened where maybe they got in a fight, or the girlfriend panicked and decided find a way out and put it all on him. and then she gets to escape.
It's actually worth mentioning that that Julie was very much in love with Jeremy at that point, to the point where he had told her everything to keep her from going to the police, because then she would be arrested uh, for um for being, you know, an
Accomplice.
accomplice in the murders. However, the police did not, because they came to the belief that the whole only reason why Julie even knew about it was because she was essentially being held hostage, verbally. Like, he was manipulating her to
Okay.
not speak anything. So,
Hmm.
so Tony, do you have something you want to say?
No, I was just kind of trying to piece things together right now. So the girlfriend was basically considered being held hostage by the police, which is why they didn't consider her. Is that correct?
They, at that point, it was her word against Jeremy's, and because there were so many people pointing their fingers at Jeremy being the true culprit because of his actions immediately following the murders, the case against him just built itself and built itself too, until it was kind of hard to deny that he had something to do with the murders. He had some form of connection to them. So by the time the trial came around in 1986, it was essentially Julie's word against his. And the jury, it's worth mentioning that the jury could not I can't say that word, unanimously agreed upon the guilt. It took deliberations to a majority vote of 10 jurors who condemned Jeremy to the deaths, to be sentenced to 5 life sentences. So
So
there's that information.
at this point to me, it sounds like the girlfriend was the one who did it, and to push everything away from her, she was trying to make sure that everyone in the courtroom and all the police and all the evidence was trying to be pushed away from her to him just so she can get away scot-free. That's what I
You
feel.
know that that actually brings up a point. At no point while watching the show on HBO Max, as well as reading any of the information regarding the investigation, at no point did I see that any DNA profiling was done on Jeremy to pin him to the scene of the crime. So at that point, it really was basically the word of Julie versus the word of Jeremy.
Hmm.
So yeah, at this point, it's almost an open and shut with the fact
Yeah,
that
but
she pushed him away. She pushed them towards his perspective, trying to push them to think that it was actually him instead of her. If you
mhm.
go based solely only off the thought that she could have been the one who actually did it instead of Jeremy. So that's what I'm going
Actually,
off of.
that's actually a very good theory that I didn't think about myself. Uh, Based off what I saw, the show pretty much paints Jeremy as the bad guy because, I mean, straight up, right now it's considered that Jeremy is the true culprit. I consider this case semi unsolved because we will never know who really did the murders. What we do know is that Jeremy was involved in some aspect with it, whether by choice or by proxy. We do not know.
Okay, hold on really quick. Um, exactly, I completely forgot. Exactly when was this taking place again?
This took place on the murders themselves happened on August 7th, 1985.
Okay, so if you go based solely off of that time as well, not a lot of female killers were announced during then, if I remember correctly. It was mostly considered that males were the ones who were the main culprits. They were the main serial killers at the time.
I
Whether
do also want to mention that this is all still happening in England rather than the United States, where their justice system is similar but not entirely the same as ours. So,
still at the same point, with that exact same thought process of how things are out there, it still was considered that more men, especially during that time period, were considered to be killers rather than women. I mean, sure, there
mhm.
were probably still women murderers at that time as well, but it was all mostly men, and most women would go and not plead guilty, but they would go and say, "Oh, they didn't know what was going on," and they try to go and push it off onto someone else, anyways.
Mhm. Another piece of information that uh, another piece of information that I think I mentioned earlier that I think we all glossed over was Neville, the grandfather of the Bamber family, was found with wounds similar to that of a beating, a heavy beating, where it's where police officers, or at least Stan Jones, essentially came to the belief that that Sheila could not have had the strength to hurt Neville the way that he was hurt, to the point where they straight up saying that you would have had to have a lot of pent up anger, frustration, and hate in order to in order to wound Neville to the point where he was found, how his body looked like when it was found.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, and quick question again: how old was Sheila at that time again?
28.
Okay.
Jeremy was 24. Oh, I should also mention that both Jeremy and Sheila were both adopted from separate families, but yeah, they were adopted by the Bamber family.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
June and Neville were highly religious people who, according to Jeremy, wanted to keep Sheila's illness within the family out of embarrassment. So, which would also, well, which Jeremy says is the reason why his dad why Neville called him instead of calling the police. So that's just something else I wanted to mention. I know this is a lot of info that I didn't mention previously, but I just wanted to make sure that it comes up at relevant points. So
Okay, then I guess Jeremy wouldn't be considered out of it. So he could have worked alongside with his girlfriend,
hmm
and he was probably the one who caused damage
which is
to.
why I'm saying that Jeremy definitely had something to do with the murders, but it is unclear if he was the one who perpetrated them all. He had something to do with them, but there's no clear DNA to state that he did do anything. You know, and this is why
Okay.
I like this case because yes, Jeremy was convicted of the murders, but was he entirely guilty of doing it?
Okay.
Because of what people said.
Okay.
Mac,
Quick thing, I'm gonna step
what are
away
your
real
thoughts?
quick.
Let Tony
Uh,
continue.
Oh,
go ahead, Tony.
I was just saying.
Oh,
Give me a second. I need to step away real quick.
all
Oh,
right.
okay. All right, Mac. What do you think?
They both got to be involved. I don't see any other way around it, especially with the way that the one guy was beaten to death. definitely possible Jeremy was the one clubbing him.
Mm-hmm. It's also
Uh,
kind of hard to imagine how Jeremy, being the only one in the house, was able to not only kill his father, but kill 4 people and force his sister to commit suicide, all by himself, at least.
yeah.
I mean, this is a you have to be a really sadistic person to do it all by yourself, especially if you're shooting your nephews up to 7 times a piece before going in and killing your parents and forcing your sister to commit suicide. Yes, I believe that Jeremy is a bit on the sadistic side because, again, I do think that he had something to do with the murders. But what I'm also saying is that I do not believe that he acted alone. Now, if uh, now I don't believe Julie physically had anything to do with it. I don't think she planned anything about it, but she wanted to protect him from the repercussions. So, to an extent, I do believe that Julie is somewhat guilty, but got off with a light sentence because of a lack of evidence pointing to her direct involvement.
I'm thinking they had their own gun. I'm thinking they used their own 22, and then they
But
used the family
But
gun.
that's the thing, though. The gun that was found in Sheila's arms was the exact same gun that fired all the bullets and that was owned by Neville. So
Mm.
the gun was Neville's gun. That's nothing to dispute. That gun did belong to Neville. It did belong to that
I'm
family.
back.
So yeah.
I was gonna say they could have used the family rifle to kill off Sheila and then plant it and make it look like a murder-suicide.
They definitely
Second
planned
bolt.
to make it look like a murder-suicide, but like I said, all 25 bullets did come from that rifle,
Okay.
from that rifle.
Did they not think to check for fingerprints?
And like I said, they did check for fingerprints, but the only ones that they could find were Jeremy and Sheila's and Neville's, but most of them were unidentifiable because of age. That's the only
This-
piece of DNA evidence that I can think of that they did, as well as the blood that was found in the suppressor, and while it could have been compared to Sheila, it was also inconclusive. So not much else was done in the way of DNA testing, from what I can recall.
Mm.
I do recommend that you guys do watch this. If you do, if you are interested in this case at all, I do recommend watching the HBO Max show. Like I said, it's only 6 episodes long. It's a dramatic retelling. It has a few cast members from Game of Thrones. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but they are all. But yeah, it has some graphic imagery towards the end of the episode. So, like, the final episode does actually show the actual crime scene photos with the bodies. Where it was when I was watching that last episode, it was hard to tell if the photos that they were showing were the actual crime scene photos or if they were photos taken for the production. Like, because they were so uncannily similar to how they showed the bodies being found in episode 1. So it was hard. It's really hard to say. I will say that they did not show the dead bodies of the twins. So if you're going in looking for that, first of all, you're sadistic, and second of all, don't worry, you're not gonna see the dead bodies of two twin boys. They do not show those at all. They do show the dead bodies of Sheila, June, Neville, and Neville. So, oh, I should also mention, to add to Jeremy's sadistic side, that following the investigation, well, following the announcement that the family was dead, a police officer gave June's dog to Jeremy, who
Okay.
a few days later had a guy come out and put down the dog.
What the fuck?
Perfectly healthy dog could not provide any evidence whatsoever to say that he did or didn't do the case, or did or didn't do the murders, but he puts down the dog anyway. Because, and I quote, he didn't like the dog.
Hmm.
They're giving it away to a family member. Whatever. But he put down the dog for literally no good reason. So, yeah.
Seriously suspect.
Uh-huh. I mean, a lot of what Jeremy did following the murders was incredibly suspect. I mean, like I said, he was described as celebratory.
He definitely did it.
Say what?
I said it was him. He definitely did it. If he's gonna do that to a dog, he definitely did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely killing the dog to hide something, because the dog could have easily sniffed something out.
I mean, that's true, but it's also worth mentioning that it's not written if the dog seems scared of Jeremy. The dog just seems scared because it was found hiding underneath June's bag right next to her body.
Yeah.
So it's unclear what the dog's reaction was. It just, I don't know. It's hard to say. It really is. But it is worth saying that Jeremy's reaction following the murders was very suspect, with him going around to the house, strong arming his cousin into giving him a key to the house because they had to break down the door to get in, so they had to replace the door. So they had keys or whatever. Long thing. Long story short, he strong arms his cousin into giving him a key. He goes to the house and starts auctioning off all their belongings after the house is cleaned back up. So
Jesus Christ.
straight up gives his mother's car to his girlfriend's mom.
Uh-huh.
So this is what I'm saying, that Jeremy definitely had something to do with the murders, because his reaction does not scream someone who is mourning his family.
No.
It's just how it is, you know. I mean, yeah, Jeremy definitely did something, but to this day he proclaims his innocence, and he is continuing to search for an appeal to get himself out of his 5 consecutive life sentences. However, it is safe to say that he will not be getting out anytime soon, because the Court of Appeals continues to deny any appeal he may present. He or his lawyers may present. All right. So, any thoughts from the two of you? Any closing things before we wrap this up?
Well, I might have to go look into this case myself and see if I can find any missing pieces. Something about this just doesn't feel right.
Again, like I said, give the HBO
Yeah.
Max mini limited series a watch. It's a very interesting show. I should mention that I started watching the show, and I was presented with this case by a fellow YouTuber named Mr. Ballin. Mr. Ballin is also doing podcasts on Spotify every Monday and Thursday. He's a multi-million dollar subscriber, not million dollar, a multi-million subscriber YouTuber who tells scary stories or on YouTube. He's a very great guy, and I highly recommend people go subscribe and follow him on Spotify, YouTube, and all your other podcast platforms because the way he tells stories is pretty damn amazing. Hell, some of the stories that I'm going to be talking about later on this year with Wrestling Nightfall were directly taken from some of his videos. So. Again, any other closing statements from you guys?
Nope.
Tony?
Nothing.
All right, so sound off. Who do you think did it?
Both.
Yeah, it has to have been both to me.
I don't have really an opinion on this because honestly, like I said, I don't think Jeremy did all of it by himself, but he definitely had something to do with it. I don't know if Julie had anything to do with it herself, but I mean, is entirely possible. So, all right. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Welcome to the Nightfall. Episodes go live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. However, we will be taking a short break from live streaming as we get ready for a new season of Nightfall that we will hopefully be bringing to you in a few weeks' time. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at NIGHTWAV Podcast. That is at NIGHTWAV Podcast on Twitter. NIGHTWAVE also has a few other shows you might be interested in, such as Steel Underground, a podcast interviewing underground musicians from around the world, hosted by our very own McAdvertisement. To follow them on Twitter and learn more information on future and current episodes, follow them at Steel Ground Pod, also on screen above. Lastly, our primary sci-fi fiction podcast, The Satellite, will be releasing a new episode in the weeks. For information on that, please follow at The Satellite Pod. That's at TheSatellitepod. My name is Callan. Their names are McAdvertisement and Land66. I will let them have a couple minutes to advertise whatever the fuck they want.
You go ahead.
All right. Again, thanks for listening in, and hopefully we can see you again by next season. I am Land626. You can follow me at NerdTony or Nerd_Tony on Twitter. You can go and catch my streams on Twitch at Land626, and I have a small YouTube on exact same thing, Land626. If you want to go and hang out with me, I also go and hang out with a friend of mine. His Twitch is Pig on PC in 4K, and we hang out in the Legends Discord. We are a community of VR gamers who go and have fun, relax, and basically game like back in the old days. So come check us out as well.
All right, Matt?
Thank you all for listening tonight. Make sure to follow. My bad. Make sure to follow the Twitter account for Steel Ground. I will have Discord server up here within the week. I promise. I just gotta finalize a few things. I do plan on recording more episodes here sometime this month, next month, and in the future, obviously. I got a lot of things coming up this summer, but rest assured I will have everything planned out so that way this year I do not go through a drought. Some of the people I have talked to, I plan on having on the show very soon. I am excited for what they have to say. And that's about it for me.
To listen to the first episode of Steel Underground, you can go on Spotify currently, and I believe Google Podcasts, and search up Steel Underground, where McAdvertisement over here interviews one half of the internet gaming band 1551, but a man by the name of Spencer Crew. Well, you can hear a brand new song from 1551 and hear Mac and Spencer talk about the greatness of time zone differences, musical inspirations, and the greatness of food trucks. That is on Spotify and Google Podcasts at Steel Underground. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. Welcome to the Nightfall. We will be back here in a few weeks. I have been Kellen, and that's Glenn, that's Mac, and please remember, stay safe, stay cool, and please do your absolute best not to become a subject on our show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back soon. Bye.
Goodbye.
Later.